Peter, and thank you for that warm welcome. Everybody come on and get a seat. As Peter mentioned, I do work for the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics and Public Trust, and no, that is not an oxymoron. And for those of you who don't know or are unaware, and you know that next month you're going to be voting on proposed changes to the Dade County Charter. Back in 1996, the good citizens of Dade County voted to establish an Ethics Commission and Office of the Inspector General. Our goal is to educate about ethical rules of governance, to train people how to be ethical, with the minimum standards of ethics, and then to enforce laws when they are broken. All of the employees, elected officials, advisory board members for both Miami-Dade government and all municipalities, including Palmetto Bay, are subject to this conflict of interest and code of ethics ordinance. And this is really a terrible thing, as you can see, tiny print, lots of pages, written primarily by attorneys, for attorneys, and about attorneys. So that's why we offer our, we provide advice. Anybody who has a question, concern whether it might have a conflict. I've also put a couple of flyers out there on the main table there that has kind of the dummies version of conflict of interest and code of ethics ordinance if you're interested, and also a little handout about clean campaigning and how it's important to all of us. So with that in mind, we've already decided in a meeting prior to this that we would alternate. We would, since there's only one lady on the panel, we'll allow her to go first. Cards are coming to me, and I'm not like putting them in order of importance, but I'm finding very similar questions, and so I'm grouping them, and we're going to, try and cover as much as we can. First, we're going to start with a 3-minute opening statement with Ms. Cunningham.
Here you go. Don't start my timer yet.
It's amazing how this always happens.
Good evening. My first glitch. First of all, thank you so much to Peter England and the Palmetto Bay Village Voice for sponsoring this forum. Also, thank you to John and Brian and the candidates from District 2. I look forward to hearing your ideas and vision for Palmetto Bay this evening. So you came today to get a little bit of a snapshot and discuss issues. So I'd like to give you a little bit of a snapshot of who Karyn Cunningham is. I'm a Miami-Dade native, a graduate of Palmetto Senior High, a class of 1981. I've been 27 years with Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Of those 27 years, 18 I taught first grade at Little River Elementary and Royal Green Elementary. In the last 9 years, I've had the honor and privilege of serving our students, teachers, and public education with United Teachers of Dade. I'm a 17-year resident of Palmetto Bay, and I live at 13985 Southwest 72nd Court. But more importantly, I'm mother to Megan, and Megan is here tonight, my 22-year-old daughter. I'm the sister to Catherine and Ken. My sister, Catherine, has just moved to Palmetto Bay, and a neighbor and friend to many of you in the room. So why am I running? I'm offering myself to the voters because I believe the local government in Palmetto Bay has lost its direction and has become increasingly insulated to the residents. I will bring a fresh voice, energy, honesty, and enthusiasm for service to our community. We have knocked on thousands of doors and spoken to residents and listened to what the residents want. And so, the residents want to stop wasteful spending in Palmetto Bay, and they point to Palmer Trinity. They want us to provide more services that will enhance the quality of life in Palmetto Bay. They point to things like a neighborhood commons area, streets, park enhancements, and our school programs. And they want all of this at the lowest taxes possible. To that end, as Vice Mayor, I would like to create a 5-year strategic plan that reflects the priorities of the community with input from all the voices in the community. This has been successfully implemented in other municipalities. I would also propose that we conduct an analysis of our budget and management practice under the policy direction of current council. I see no harm in having a third eye take a look at budget and expenditures and how money is spent. As a community, we need to work together to mend fences, build bridges, and move forward. I believe that my skills in building consensus and coalition, in addition to the relationships that I have established in our greater community at the local, state, and national level, set me apart from the other candidates. I'm also proud of my endorsements from many leaders in our greater community, including Vice Chair of our school board, Dr. Larry Feldman. But more importantly, I'm humbled by the endorsement of Palmetto Bay residents, such as Karyn and Bill Brown, Mayor Gene Flynn and his wife Alex, Annette Katz and her husband Steve, Ben Barlow, Mike Audie, and my neighbors, the Signoris, the Mandlers, the DeWitts, and the Katzmans. They can attest to my skills of negotiation, compromise, and relationship building. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Karyn. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your busy schedules this evening to join us. My name is John DuBois. I am running for Vice Mayor. I'm a businessman. I'm not a politician, and just want to keep it relatively brief with my conversations tonight. The three top issues for me are focus on improving customer friendliness in the village. And that means things like when you call in for trash pickups, whether you have standing water in front of your homes, potholes, whether you need any kind of service, permits to get a shed, whatever it is, we need a little more cooperation and support from the village. And I think that's done by leadership at the village council level. So that's issue number one. I think we also have major issues with litigation costs that are getting out of control. I'd like to get to settlements with some of these issues and prevent further litigation and get off that track. The third thing is really to improve fiscal responsibility. One of the things that really concerns me is for the first time, we've run into a $2.3 million budget deficit this year. We're taking $2.3 million out of our unfunded, unrestricted reserves to cover the difference between revenues and expenses. This, to me, where I went to school, means we have a deficit of $2.3 million. To take $2.3 million out of our reserve account to plug the gap is not adequate. It says in our charter we must have a balanced budget. In my view, we have violated our charter with the current proposed budget for 2012-2013. I'm disappointed with that, and I would be a big advocate of fiscal responsibility. I'm going to add some very specific areas where I think we need to cut back. We're spending about $3.6 million in capital projects, special reserve fund, whereas last year we spent $1.2 million. In pure capital projects like parks and that sort of thing, we're projected to spend $2 million this year versus $700,000 last year. The two of those numbers combined is an additional $3.6 million that we're spending as a village this year. So I'm concerned about these issues. I really can't stand on the sideline with the way our reserves are dwindling and what I view as lack of fiscal responsibility that I believe needs to be changed. A lot of time when I go knocking on doors campaigning, a common theme I hear also is what people call the dark cloud that's now over the village of Palmetto Bay. And to me that means we have people that are looking to move here from a residence point of view or from a business point of view that are really discounting Palmetto Bay as a viable option right now. And a lot of it is because of the unfriendly ordinances and attitude of the council, and I think we need to change that.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for hosting this event. Thanks to Scott Silver. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I see some faces that are new. Let me tell you about me and who I am. My name is Brian Pariser. I've been a resident of Palmetto Bay since 1992. I lived in Dade County since 1971, graduated from University of Miami Law School in 1974. I'm a civil and commercial attorney, and I've always been civically active since 1985 when I was the Kendall Federation of Homeowner Associations president out in Kendall, and fought for having logical development and concurrency for schools and roads. I got blown out of Country Walk in 1992, and I moved here with my beautiful wife and 3 children who are products of the local public schools, Coral Reef Southwood and Coral Reef IB program. I helped start incorporation in Palmetto Bay. As a matter of fact, I was vice chairman of the steering committee from 1995 to 2002, fighting to have our right to vote. Now, why did I do that? I was appointed by the Dade County Commission to take testimony around the county when Aventura and Pinecrest and Key Biscayne were incorporating, to see what the process is as far as municipalities having greater control of their government and greater control of their tax dollars. And I have, having seen that, I helped incorporate the village. One of the founding fathers of Palmetto Bay, Linda Robinson, is one of the founding mothers. I have always said that the vision for Palmetto Bay is to keep it simple, to concentrate on the 4 core issues of what a municipality is about. And municipal services, keep the highest level of municipal services at the lowest cost. Presently, we have the 6th lowest tax millage rate out of 35 municipalities. We have a AA bond rating, municipal bond rating, and we've had 4 years of unqualified audits. We want to concentrate on services, police, public works, parks and recreation, and planning and zoning. Other than that, that's extra if the residents want it. And I like the fact that you're out here, because I always say up on the dais, please come out and tell us what you want, whether I like it or not, whether it's positive or negative, because believe it or not, when you're up there on the dais, we don't have all the answers, and people come forward and do have good ideas. I've always been open. I view my service as public service. I'm not a politician. I haven't run for office before. My wife thinks I'm crazy for running again. But this is my home, and I want to enhance the quality of life, and I want to increase the values of the residents' homes. And that's my vision, and that's my primary goal in serving as Vice Mayor of Palmetto Bay.
Everybody, thank you very much for coming down. If you don't mind, I'll stand because I can't see the people in the back very clearly. My name is Jim Araiza. Thank you for being with us this evening. I know there's some really good shows on tonight, new 30 Rock's on in the baseball playoffs, so if you keep your questions short, I'll keep my answers really short. You're going to hear a lot of candidates tonight talking about, if you don't mind, put this down. You're going to hear people talking about transparency and fiscal responsibility and neighborhood protection. They're all very important terms, very important topics. I feel very strongly about them also, and I have some very strong ideas of how we can improve on them. But I want to go back to something very basic. I think we need to get to a very core problem, very core situation that we have to address first. How many of you were here during Hurricane Andrew? Majority of you were here. Do you remember the aftermath of that storm? How we all came together? Do you remember going out with your neighbors, strangers, and just hand in hand, helping other people, helping your neighbors, helping everybody, just getting out there hand in hand, all about being together? That was a really special time if you think about what we all did then. And if you think about where we're at right now, how did we get here? How did we get to this point where we are now the most divisive city in all of South Florida? I think we got here because we have a lack of leadership and we have no direction. I believe you define leadership as the ability to bring people together. And I believe our primary goal as council members, first and foremost, is to bring this city back together. If we work on that, all these other topics, transparency and everything else, can come back together. But we have to start with healing the wounds and bringing ourselves back together. How are we going to do that? I'll tell you, it's very, very simple. The first thing we have to do is provide accurate information to the residents. The second thing we have to do is provide the best customer service, like John DuBois was talking about. Killer customer service, the same things that we do in the business world. Beginning with that, if we give good information, accurate information to the residents, the best service, those residents can take that information and make their most informed decisions and opinions. Quite frankly, folks, if we don't respect the diverse opinions of engaged residents, we're not going to solve our problems. I have 30 years of experience, executive leadership experience in solving problems like that. And that's where I'm going to begin, and that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Schaffer. I'm asking the residents of Palmetto Bay to allow me to be their representative for the Council District 2. November 6th, I hope I'm granted that honor. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, Miami-Dade County. I've lived in several different places throughout the county. Only recently have I moved to Palmetto Bay. That was in January of 2005. But because I've had the opportunity to live in other areas of this county, I've gotten a chance to see a lot of different changes. Our county has changed quite a bit, as most of you know. We've all gone through Hurricane Andrew, as previously discussed. But when I moved to Palmetto Bay in January 2005, it was for a very distinct reason. It's a great place, guys. This is a wonderful place to live. I did spend 5 years in Chesapeake, Virginia, between 1999 and 2004. And when we came back here and said that we wanted to live in Palmetto Bay for the sole reason that I hear everybody out there speaking about how great and how much they love living here. Now, for some reason, there's a lot of negativity that is out there, but it's not widespread. It's not throughout the community. It seems to be very close within the people that are politically active. People out there live here for the same reasons that I moved here. Quiet neighborhoods, friendly neighbors, great schools, great public schools, wonderful parks, phenomenal police protection. And when you talk to people, that's what they want. That's what they want to see stay. They want to see that we're going to remain that community. Have a nice home with a little land around it. There's not a lot of places in Dade County that are like that. They want us, as their representatives, to make sure that our community is preserved, protected, parks stay nice, the schools stay at the levels in which they are or better, police protection stays at the levels or better. And that's what I want to bring. That's the message I want to bring to village government. Now, some of my qualifications that allow me to be able to do that for the people of this village is 29 years as a financial advisor, sole proprietor of a independent firm called Woodbury Financial Services. And I see numbers, I understand numbers. And that's very important, because that's going to give me the opportunity to understand that money runs government and runs a community. I understand that. I've also spent 15 years as a reserve and auxiliary police officer for Miami-Dade County and Portsmouth, Virginia. And that gives me a tremendous insight to what we have in the way of police protection. So I look forward to the upcoming couple of weeks and getting a chance to represent this great community. Thank you.
I'm Howard Tendrich. I was born and raised in Miami. Graduated at the University of Miami in 1962 with a BBA in accounting. My wife and I moved here in 1972, and I've had a retail clothing store called Heritage House for 44 years, so I do know how to run businesses pretty well. We've started our activity and been socially active with trying to save land. And about 40 years ago, a group of women and men got together along with Dottie Barton, you all probably know, to buy property, to have the county buy the property for Coral Reef Park. Then about 25 years later, 25 years ago from now, we worked with the state to have them buy the Deering-Danielson property to become the Deering Estate. And then 12 years ago, I was instrumental in getting us to buy the Powers property with the Trust for Public Land, Miami-Dade Parks, the EO program, and we were able to now have, on the Powers property, we can have a rehydration project where the water would flow from on the west side of Old Color over to the east side into the Deering Estate. And I've been on the council for 4 years, and to be honest with you, I think I've done a heck of a good job. And people are pleased with what I've done. I definitely want to continue to keep doing what I've done. I feel that a big problem that we did have, and it's hopefully is over, is the Palmer Trinity problem. I think, though, that we need to really understand the questions that are on the ballot with the concerning NPO, which is the Neighborhood Protection Ordinance. our attorneys sort of told us that a lot of those questions could bring us more lawsuits. So that's something we do not need. We've already spent over $600,000 on Palmer, and we don't need to have to redo that again. A big problem, I think, coming up that we need to study and really understand is the MDX. There's a busway on US 1 now that goes from Dadeland all the way to, I think, 344th. They're now trying to put an elevated busway going from 304th to Dadeland. And I feel it's something as a community we really have to stop, because it can definitely cause pollution, definitely divide the village between the sides. It's going to go just really destroy the continuity of east and west on the highway. And I guess something else I'm really proud of, when we did our budget, which I have to say we are fiscally sound, and I will shorten it real quick, that just we need common sense to stay on the council, and I feel that I am common sense, and just remember, vote 170. Thank you.
For touching on several of the questions that we have. Just to let you know, I'm going to start off with something a little soft, maybe to expand on your introduction. And this is a combination of several questions that we've got, but basically, what have you done over the past few years in terms of community involvement, and what qualities you have that would make you a good elected official? For those of you who are incumbents, one trusts that you've been to your meetings. If you haven't, we need to hear about that. But for you incumbents, please explain to us perhaps what other community activism qualifies you for re-election. And let's start with Mr. DuBois, okay? Yes. We're going to take turns, so everybody's not put on.
Thank you. I've been very involved with the community political issues over the years, starting with my inquisition into the financial statements for the library project several years ago. I actually had pro forma contract estimates done on all of the divisions of labor for it. When I came to the conclusion that the city was entered into a bad deal, and we ended up spending about 1.2 million over what we probably should have. That was several years ago, before the current council administration. But that's when my involvement really rose in terms of getting involved with the community, the issues, especially the fiscal issues of Palmetto Bay. I have been involved. I've been on the tree committee for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. I've been active attending council meetings and budget meetings and that sort of thing periodically over the last 4 years. Thank you.
Okay. Well, as you know, I've been your vice mayor for the last 4 years, and I'm proud of my record. But before I even became vice mayor, I was put on the mitigation blue ribbon panel for Dade County to determine whether mitigation for the new cities in Doral, Palmetto Bay, and Miami Lakes was viable and truthful. And after I got cross-examining the budget director for Dade County as to where the $25 million was going from the combined mitigation to enhance services in UMSA, she asked for a do-over. Well, that didn't happen, and we got $1.3 million a year eliminated from our annual tax bill. Since being on the village, those of you who know me know that I listen to what you have to say, and I take a balanced approach. I know that from my courtroom experience, there's always two sides to a story, and I try to come down in the most logical way for the benefit of the most people. I've tried to promote good government practices. I've tried to promote good customer services. As a matter of fact, I've said over and over again from the dais, when you come for a permit, most people don't interact with their government except when they come for building permits. We started a building permit advisory committee to reform the process, because when they go to the building department, that's usually their only contact with municipal government. And I said, I want that to be friendly, and I want that to be thoughtful, and I want you to help the people and not have them come back over and over again. I've also helped in transparency. I've supported putting our checkbook on the website and streaming our council meetings live and televising them on W-Bay, Channel 77. There's nothing to hide. Our books are open, and I'm always accessible.
Thank you. I'm very proud of my civic and political activity here in Palmetto Bay. Very quickly, from a political standpoint, I've been preparing for this election for the last 2 years. I've visited over 4,000 homes here in Palmetto Bay in the last 2 years. Going way back into 2004, I started attending council meetings, getting involved, going to some of the minor council meetings, the committee of the whole meetings, been to many neighborhood meetings. In fact, I was very actively involved in a neighborhood meeting in 2010, zoning issues that took place in the Bryan area. Very involved in the development of our dog park. Very proud that my wife, Janice Sheeter, was one of the leaders in that movement. Went out and she raised roughly 4,000 signatures, came back to the city, showed them how it could be done efficiently and economically. Civically, type of thing I've done like Jana with the dog park, but on the political side, many of you know that in 2006 I began writing a column called Eye on Palmetto Bay in the community newspaper. We decided, the publishers and I decided to get a broader reach. We expanded it into an internet blog, also called Eye on Palmetto Bay. So I've been extremely active, trying to get involved in the community, express ideas, share ideas with people, and taking it from there.
No matter where I've lived, I've always wanted to be and tried to get involved in the communities. When I lived out in Sable Chase, I was a member of the Sable Chase Townhomes Association. When I moved to Palmetto Bay, I joined the Historic Preservation Board, which I'm still part of, and still attend those meetings regularly when we have those meetings. I've also been very active in my community, and I discussed it in my opening, as being a reserve police officer for Miami-Dade County. You don't get paid to do that. That's volunteer work. And I did that for 10 years in Liberty City. Sometimes I wonder, Howard and Brian, I don't know, it might be safer spending time in, going against the John DuBois and Zoe Pound than it was some of your council meetings, but that was a very important part of my community service. And going forward, this is community service. This is what this is all about. And I look forward to being able to do this and participate with my village and my residents.
Well, as the moderator just said, I guess I had a head start on the question. I didn't know that, but I've been very active. Going back, I was on the Municipal Advisory Committee, which was deciding whether or not we were going to become incorporated or not. I remember when Katie Sorensen appointed me to the committee, everybody in the committee said, oh man, Katie appointed Howard. Howard's against the corporation. We're dead in the water. Well, when you go to meetings and you see what you can do as a village rather than being just controlled by the county, I changed my mind, and fortunately we all became Palmetto Bay, and I think it's doing great. But for my little things, I've been president of the Deering Estate Foundation. I was on the board of trustees. I was actually made president emeritus, but once I became elected to the council of Palmetto Bay, I had to give up that position. So hopefully 4 years after I run and win this time, I'll go back and I'll be back on their board. I was president of the Zoological Society Foundation Volunteers. I was on the Trust for Public Land. The Dade County Parks this past year gave me an award for being the Volunteer of the Year for the Deering Estate. I just spend a lot of time doing things, and I definitely tell people, if you want to become involved, don't become involved because you think you're going to benefit financially. It's something you do to benefit yourself just psychologically, and it's just great to volunteer.
Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you. My community service has probably been spent in the greater community. I mentioned I'm a school teacher. I taught first grade for 18 years. The last 9 years even broadened my community service a little bit because advocating for students, teachers, and public education, we have public schools here in Palmetto Bay, which were also impacted by policy changes that we work with legislators in Tallahassee to make on behalf of our teachers. Closer to home, I sit on several small boards. I think that's probably been the most exciting part of my community service, taking small organizations and helping build them from foundation up. Two that I'm most proud of is the Melissa Institute for Violence Prevention and Treatment. I've been on that board for several years. Their outgoing president is Dr. Susan Keeley, and many of you probably know Trish Ramsey and Dr. Frank Delorier, who work with the programs. They provide services to not only mental health professionals, resources to teachers, but programming, bullying programming for students. And here in Palmetto Bay, in the past, well, several years, I'll just go back over the past couple of years, I worked with the former mayor working towards legislation and providing information on legislation while working with United Teachers of Day that would impact public schools. And then more recently, in the past couple of years, worked with the current mayor to provide information on programming and policy, state policy that would affect local public schools here in Miami-Dade County.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to remind everybody that we want to have good, solid concentration here and no distractions. So if you would please put your cell phones, and anybody have a beeper? Beeper? Okay, I was going to say 1996 is calling. Anyway, put them all on vibrate if you would, and let's not have any more distractions. Our candidates have been asked to keep their answers to 2 minutes. They are allowed to go under 2 minutes. And so we get into some topics that it's okay if one says, well, I kind of believe with what so-and-so said, and I want you not to think less of them, I want you to think greater of them, because then we can get to more questions. So we will start with Vice Mayor Pariser and ask what you believe the Palmetto Bay should do to continue contracting with Miami-Dade Police.
When we were forming Palmetto Bay steering committee, we had officers who had a lot of experience, 25, 30, 35 years. Alavoy is one of them. I don't know if he's in our room. And we asked him, what should we do? They thought 28 officers would probably be max because they'd probably be falling over each other because we are a very low crime area. As a matter of fact, 75% of our calls are on the Dixie corridor in the commercial area. They suggested that we look to the county, and the county at the time was fighting us not to incorporate, and as a compromise, and I'm glad we did it because I really never thought about it, we have decided to contract with the police. We lease or rent 40 officers, soon to be 42 officers in the new budget year. It's approximately $140,000 an officer for pay, benefits, and equipment 24/7. They train them, they send them to the academy, they negotiate with their unions, and we have another level of liability that they take first. They have to be very responsive. We have one of the fastest, if not the fastest, municipal response times for emergency and non-emergency calls. We train them, we want them to be customer friendly, warn and educate, and then violate. We have community servicing programs through them, through the ESIP program for emergency contacts for all the commercial properties along Dixie Highway, and also for the school programs for DARE and for RAD Kids. I am pleased to have them, and I want to continue them. And they know if they don't keep up the level of service, we can always get our own police department, which, by the way, my personal opinion is if you have your own police department, you're piling on more political problems and infighting.
I believe, Rhonda, the question was, should we keep the...
do you believe we should continue contracting?
Oh, well, in the spirit of what you first said a few minutes ago, yes, I think they're doing a great job.
Excellent answer.
Absolutely. Continue to contract with Miami-Dade County Police Department.
I told you we'd get home to the playoffs.
There's no doubt that we have the best police department there is.
Well, no. We need to go back.
Sorry.
Unless you're going to say ditto.
I am going to say ditto, but because I do think we should be with the Miami-Dade Police Department. But in my travels throughout the community, I will tell you that neighborhood safety has come up time and time again. I can give you several, individuals. I had one couple spoke to me through a window because they had recently had a neighborhood break-in. They're in their 80s, the Detmans. And they were frightened and they were looking at me, which is not that frightening. So they spoke, they spoke through the window to me. Another individual, Joseph Johnson, Immediately, when he opened the door, we had a conversation about neighborhood safety. 2 homes in his neighborhood recently broken into. So while I definitely agree that we should continue working with Miami-Dade County Police Department, would also like to take a look at some programs that other neighboring municipalities have. Our neighbors to the south, Cutler Bay, have a crime suppression program there. I met with Mayor McDougall to kind of pick his brain and hear how that works and how that was initiated. And those are some of the programs I'd like to take a look at as Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I agree with what Karyn says. I probably knocked on 600 or 700 doors in the last 4 or 5 months, visiting people, campaigning. And one of the common themes I'm hearing is that the break-ins, car vandalisms, virtually everybody that I spoke to knows 2 or 3 people at least, whether they're neighbors or friends in Palmetto Bay, that have been affected by it. And the concerns are high. I was with Commander Truitt and his boss, the division chief, at some event about 9 months ago, or a year ago, and they were telling me that they're on our commander's case because our crime numbers have skyrocketed in Palmetto Bay. Both reported and unreported break-ins seem to be at record levels here. So it's a huge concern for our residents. I think we need to be a little creative about how we solve the problem. Let's not just throw money necessarily at the problem. I do agree that our police force, our Miami-Dade County contracted police force, is doing a fantastic job. They're a very good group of people. I think we need to increase the budget to add some more officers, but more importantly, I think we need to get some new programs. I've been the advocate for Bikes on Cops program, the Cops on Bikes program, so that when the cops are driving around in their cruisers, instead of having tinted windows and passing by people where you don't have any eye contact or speak to them, when you're on a bike, you're clearly communicating with the local residents, and I think that'll be a big advantage to have a better understanding of the issues in the communities with policing. Also, I was at a meet and greet the other day, and one of the residents brought up the issue of why don't we have a dedicated state's attorney that works for the state's attorney's office but only prosecutes Palmetto Bay crimes, so that we get better focus, follow-up, and follow-through from the state's attorney's office. I'm not necessarily an advocate of that, but I think we need to look into that, as well as other more creative ways to help curb the crime problems here. And I'm not suggesting that we push them off into other neighboring areas like Cutler Bay and Pinecrest by having our own prosecutor, but I think we need to be creative and we need to come up with a better way of protecting our citizens.
Okay, very good. Mr. Araiza will answer our next question. You are welcome to answer yes or no. I don't think that's going to work, but it is. Do you support the Neighborhood Protection Charter Amendment?
No.
You pass it on. You can explain.
I'll be glad to explain.
It's your forum.
Thank you. I won't take 2 minutes to tell you why I don't support it. I don't support anything that can bring more litigation into our city. I think we have enough. We still have multiple pending lawsuits that are not solved. I also don't support anything that takes away the responsibility of the council. That current charter amendment is set up to be a supermajority, and quite frankly, I think people elect us to make tough decisions. And not just the council that I'll be serving on, but councils that come after us. I think we have to put our faith in our council to make good, tough decisions, and I don't think we should shirk that responsibility by putting it into a charter amendment. If you think, folks, the charter was designed as a framework, and that's all it's supposed to be.
I support the amendment. 5 people appointed by the council, residents of Palmetto Bay, came together and reviewed our charter, as they're supposed to do every 5 years. Those residents looked at the charter and said, we want to pass on to the voters a group of amendments. One of them is neighborhood protection. This amendment gives the residents the opportunity to decide the nature of their village. This is not something up to the council. This is up to the residents. To allow them to be able to vote, to allow us, the residents, to be able to vote in something that's going to outline the framework of our way of life in this village is a good thing. Now, if the voters vote against it, well, we've spoken. But if we vote for it, that means the residents want it. They want it part of the charter. They don't want councils now, next year, and many years in the future to have so much power that they do have the opportunity to change our way of life in this village. And that's very important. And that's what people are asking for out there. They're asking for our neighborhoods, our way of life in this village to stay the way it is and as great as it is. Thank you.
I am definitely against the neighborhood protection ordinance. In fact, I really felt that it should not have been brought up as it was, because during the time that we were working on it, all we had to do, rather than have a moratorium and get a lot of people worried for nothing, all we had to really do was work on the existing ordinances rather than make a complete change. And my thoughts are that if you're wanting to move something from one area, like a non-resident into a residential area, it has to go before the council. And going before the council, we have to decide, and the people have elected us. When the committee was appointed for the charter review, it was under the assumption that they were going to make suggestions to the council to decide what was going to be on the ballot. And our attorney said that's what it was, but then it got translated and legalized to say, well, if they made the recommendations, that's what you had to put on the ballot. And so I feel that some of the strength of the council has been lost, and I don't think that we were elected not to be part of running the government.
Well, I will tell you that I support the protection of our neighborhoods, but I do not support the neighborhood protection ordinance. I think, and I'm echoing some of the sentiments of some of my colleagues, I think it was put forth at an inappropriate time. It's become too politicized. I think it was put forth very rapidly. While we were having discussions about neighborhood protection ordinance, people were focused on other things. I would like to see more voices involved in creating, so maybe looking at this in the future, reworking it, so we have more voices, which brings me back to a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan for Palmetto Bay. Very simply done. You submit a survey to the community. You can send it by email for those of us that don't use computers. You can send it, where you can complete an online survey, and then the community's needs, wishes, and desires are prioritized, and the council moves the agenda of the people forward, not individual agendas. So the answer is no, I don't support this. I would like to revisit it at another time.
I'll say ditto to what Karyn said, and I want to add that besides the huge liability it presents to the village, really, to me, it's an expansion of the principles behind the moratorium that's been passed recently. And an example of what the moratorium did, in fact, it had Chet England mentioned to me that Christ Fellowship applied for a permit to have their annual Harvest Carnival event, which they've had for, I think, the last 10 years, and the village, which was always permitted, and this year the village did not deny the permit, however, they never issued it, so it had to be canceled. And to me, this is a very petty and unfortunate example of what happens when we start trying to solve problems that don't exist. And I'll take it a step further to say that I believe the whole concept of the moratorium and the MPO come from the fact that some faction on the council, I'm not necessarily referring to anybody up here, was not happy with losing time and time again to the courts in the Palmer Trinity case. So the attitude that if we're going to lose in the courts, let's just pass more legislation to stop the private schools and churches is outrageous. And to me, I'm disgusted by it, and this is part of the reason and part of the attitude that's prevalent, and why I'm part of the reason I'm running for office.
The amendment as opposed to the NPO ordinance. The amendment that's
do you support or oppose the charter amendment?
Okay, there's a proposed charter amendment, and I support it, and let me tell you why I support it. Palmetto Bay is a residential bedroom community. Always has been, always will. 92% of our tax folios are residential, and I'd venture to say that probably 95 to 98% of the people who live in those single-family residences It's probably their single greatest asset. This is a community that has to be protected. It has to be protected from incursion of non-residential uses into residential areas, single-family zone residential areas. And the reason why the Charter Revision Committee suggested that it be put on the charter is that that principle stay as a bedrock principle. It was vetted quite a bit legally by our village council. People who oppose it came with their ideas. The language was changed. It's viable. I don't see any liability that everybody is saying, oh, it's going to come. Scare tactics. Really, that's all it is. So protecting our homes and making sure that we enhance the quality of life in our residential community of Palmetto Bay is the #1 goal for me.
We started, that's right. You guys are try. All right.
Okay, I have 3 cards that have the same question in different handwriting. So I believe that there's some kind of conspiracy here, but I'll ask it anyway. And Mr. Schaffer, you'll start. How can the village promote environmental policies and sustainability?
The village has some pretty good programs that they've already instituted over the last many years, and they continue to do. Going forward, it's extremely important that we are energy efficient and we environmentally friendly. And there's a lot of programs that we can look at and work with going into the future. It's a priority, as well as a lot of other issues that we have within our community. Part of it is keeping us, there's the issues of green. Well, green doesn't just mean environmentally friendly and energy conscious. It's making sure that our community stays green from tree planting and bushes and the maintenance of our village. So it keeps green. And we should continue to move forward on that and explore any new processes that come. These things are going to happen in the way of technology we don't even know about, that we should always explore when it comes to dealing with being energy efficient and being environmentally sound.
Yes.
Okay, one thing that the village is doing now, we're members of Tree City USA. We spend $50,000 a year planting trees all around the village to keep us green and help the carbon footprint. We also have our village hall, which has just been LEED certified platinum, which is, I think there's only like 3 they said in the state that are like that. We're very fortunate on that. And they've started a PACE program, which is an environment program where they're going to try to have people invest through their taxes, really. It's a tough situation where you can get hot water, solar water heaters, and other environmentally friendly items, and you have them put onto they become a levy on your tax bill. But it's a tough situation because PACE is a good program, but the thing that you have to realize is that the interest rate from the PACE program is a lot more than it would be if you were to just go to an individual bank. Their thoughts are that with PACE, you don't have to qualify to get the loan. So that's the problem with me that I have with PACE. But we're definitely looking to do whatever can be done to make the city greener and safer. I even spoke to people about Florida Power & Light about why don't we have, hydropower somewhere out here. We've got so much beautiful water and there's so much strength in the water. I don't understand why they can't utilize that. Wind farms we don't have to worry about because we don't have much wind. But we're trying to make sure that the city stays safe and green.
Thank you for the question. I think our Palmetto Bay has done a wonderful job in creating a green community. I know with the Green Corridor and PACE that Howard was speaking about, while there are drawbacks with the PACE program, my understanding is that those will eventually be fixed at the federal level, and it might be provide an opportunity for homeowners to, put things into their homes that will decrease the carbon footprint. That said, I also think that there's other things that we can look at both the state and federal level, grants and other kinds of funding that may be able to come to Palmetto Bay as we move forward in the future. I think that that's one of the skills that I can bring based on my relationships with both state legislators and federal or Congress folks, so that we can stay appraised of what is out there and how we can bring better quality and better ideas with regards to green to Palmetto Bay. Thank you.
So I've always been a big advocate of the green corridor that Eugene Flynn got started years ago and has finally come to fruition in terms of a plan. I think that was a great idea. The mechanics of it really haven't kicked in yet. I think part of the issue with the green corridor is that I actually attribute it mostly to our state because the federal subsidy program for solar, water, and energy has been pretty stable over the years. The state of Florida, however, has had a very aggressive program a few years ago, so aggressive that the funding that they funded it with, the 25 or 50 million, whatever it was, ran out in a matter of months because everybody grabbed it, and the payback on using solar energy at your homes or your businesses was phenomenal because of the subsidies. Now the state has very minimal subsidies, if any, and I think hopefully I'll be in the vice mayor's seat, but Karyn will still help us, the state legislator, in getting some more funding for reinstating the state grants so that this will be a more economically viable program so that we'll start to see residents in Palmetto Bay actually implement solar technology on their homes. So I'm a big advocate of that. In terms of the tree planting, in my walks around Palmetto Bay, I've heard from the residents on 136th Street that we need more trees and better landscaping along the Palmetto Bay side of it because the Pinecrest side of 136 has very lush and very nice landscape, and it's a noticeable difference. On the flip side, on 152nd, the residents there are complaining that there's too much landscaping, and part of the reason is there was a double county funding program, and we actually planted twice, and they're overplanted there, so we have issues there. But overall, I serve on the tree committee, and I think we can get a handle on those issues, and we will significantly improve the greenness of Palmetto Bay. Thanks.
Well, everybody hopes for the better as far as sustainability in a green world. I have a record for the last 4 years. We have promoted the green corridor in a number of ways. But more close to home, I've been a proponent of the carrot and the stick approach to fostering LEED building. If we've passed an ordinance, our green ordinance, that if you do factor in LEED certifications, that you will get a bonus in density and a bonus in square footage. It's good for building, it's good for business, and it's good for homeowners. I promoted the PACE program, which is an option only, one of many if somebody wants to finance solar energy, insulation, panels, in order to bring down your electric bill. A lot of people can't get a mortgage, can't get a loan, can't get a home equity loan. This is only one of many options that somebody can pursue. And the truth of the matter is, in the programs in California and Arizona, probably 60% of the commercial properties, that seems to be the ratio, will take advantage of this program for those who want to go forward. I'm also for Tree City USA. I believe in keeping trees and not cutting them down. I believe in taking a look at our environmental laws and making sure they're reasonable and also obeying them. As far as trees are concerned, I'm the one who reads the contracts. When a contract for trees came up before the county, before the village council, they were $400 a field-grown tree. I said, send it back. This is a 2-3-year-old contract. And they sent it back, and we got trees instead of $400 a tree, $200 a tree, and we planted twice as many trees.
I think you as the residents have done an excellent job in the last few years as far as eco-friendly efforts through recycling and things like that, and I think our village has done a very, very good job also. I do think we need to look beyond our borders a little bit. If you think about our largest environmental challenge over the next 20 years, it'll be drinking water. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but we have the #1 foundation for protecting of the Everglades right here in this building. The nationally renowned Everglades Foundation is right here. They work to protect our drinking water, and I would like to see our city work a little bit more in unison with them and find out things that we can do over the next 10 years to make sure that our city has adequate drinking water, because without the Everglades, we have nothing.
They are, I think somewhere it is written, and no one seems to be able to find it, that there cannot add lights for baseball fields or soccer fields at Coral Reef Park. That's been the story going around for some time. And I feel if it's gone that, if it's been 40 years without lights, it probably can go another 40 years without them. The tennis court lighting is important. I think those are the original lights. And we have to make it, because if you go by there at nighttime and see, 2 of the courts, I don't even think you can really see to play. I'm amazed that some nights all the courts are filled. But it's just we're trying to do other programs. I know Brian's worked actually with Baptist, I believe, to get senior programs there. We're having a great summer camp. We had a young man who went to the summer camp this year, and it was just a phenomenal camp. And our Parks Department is really working hard to have programs for all age people, whether you're a senior citizen like I am, which I don't call myself one, or just young kids. You just want to have programs for everybody. You can't just make it for one group.
Thank you for that question. Listen, I think we're going to have to go back to the same thing I spoke to earlier, and I hate to keep repeating the same thing, but we need a strategic plan. It needs input from community members. I've spoken now with many community members. I don't think I can say what I would decide to do. I think the community needs to decide what it would like to do with Coral Reef Park, what programs need to be enhanced. Some of the things I can tell you that I've heard in speaking with residents at their door and walking the park, because we've been we've been walking the park. The concession stand, making sure that's open. We have a lot of older folks that walk in the morning, and parents that take their kids to Coral Reef and drop them off, and then they go off walking. They talked about having possibly the concession stand open in the morning, where they could get a cup of coffee after their walk and sit and relax and visit. I've had conversations with, I'm going to speak faster. I've had conversations with 2 tennis groups. Some are very pleased with the tennis program that is currently there, and it's saying it's not so much a program as it is having lessons provided. There was another group of women that would like to have a clinic there, and says that the regulations are too strict to bring in folks to have a tennis clinic, and that's for our Coral Reef Women's League. And field usage seems to be a little bit of an issue. I know and I hate to put my sister on the spot, but hey, she's my sister. So she walks on the field every afternoon, and because of her knees, she has to walk the field. So she's brand new to the community, and she said to me, "Why is it that the fields are closed all the time? There's always a sign there saying the fields are closed." And I've heard that from many folks in the community when we've been walking. So these are just a few things, but again, I think you have to go back to the community, get some input from the community. Would love to have a sports committee where we get to hear what the issues are and then find out solutions.
So in terms of Coral Reef Park, I feel as though it's really not fair to the surrounding residents to put lights in at this stage in the game, unless we're talking about improving the lights for the tennis courts, or there's significant security risks in the area that really require lighting for security purposes. People, have certain expectations, and I don't think it's detracting. Not having the lights is certainly not detracting from sports activities there now. Not to a large enough degree to inconvenience the neighbors. So that's kind of my opinion on Coral Reef. I think more or less the status quo with respect to lighting is where we need to be. In terms of the tennis program, I'm disappointed just from a fiscal responsibility point of view that we lost a revenue source of $55,000 to $60,000 a year. We also had to pay $130,000 cancellation fee on the contract for a former tennis program that was there. That was a very successful program. Of course, there are pros and cons on everything, but as a businessman, my background kind of tells me we're better off outsourcing than insourcing, and I think we went the wrong direction on this one.
Well, I'm a man of my word. When I was knocking on doors from 95 to 2002 around Coral Reef Park, people said, we don't want to incorporate because we had this park here. We negotiated with the county not to have field lights on the baseball and football and soccer fields. The tennis lights were already there. And I told them if I'm elected and if this becomes incorporated, I will keep that promise, and I will. And so as far as I'm concerned, no lights on the playing fields. As far as the tennis is concerned, the tennis lights were always there. People knew they were there. We're going to enhance it greatly. As far as what goes on in Coral Reef Park, it's our busiest park. We have many youth leagues. I instituted a seniors program. Dr. Feller came on board and we sat down with Baptist Hospital, and now you have classes for seniors as well as youth leagues. Fields are closed there when you have to mow them, when they're reserved, they're paid for, and when you have to fertilize them. It's a very, very busy park. I was in favor of the new concession stand, which is not just a concession stand. That's only about 20% of the use of the property. It's really new bathrooms. Try going there on a Saturday or a Sunday and seeing 20 different leagues playing, all kids of sizes, and probably 500 to 1,000 to 1,500 kids in there trying to use 2 bathrooms. The rest is a covered portico where you can go and have a snack. As far as the concessionaires, we've tried 2. We'll put it out for RFP. We may try vending machines because it is seasonal. To stay there and keep your doors open as a concessionaire from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and have very light business during the day, it's tough to find somebody who'll put up with that.
As to lights in Coral Reef Park, the answer is no. There's nothing to discuss there. A promise is a promise, end of story. I had something else to say, but I just can't let this pass. This is a perfect example of a difference in philosophy of what I think the new leadership will be. I believe the concession stand was a major, major mistake. It's a $1.3 million fiasco. The Vice Mayor, and I'm not running against Vice Mayor, but he just brought it up. You're looking at something that we don't even have a plan on how to use it. Everything that goes on in the parks has to begin. We can't continue to do piecemeal improvements to our parks. We have to have a comprehensive plan, not just for Coral Reef Park, all of our parks. You don't build a concession stand without an idea of how to get the concessionaires in there and to make it a viable, successful thing. The tennis program is the exact same thing. We removed a tennis vendor for political reasons. We did not replace them with another professional tennis vendor. We've lost a tremendous amount of revenue because of that, because we don't plan ahead. It doesn't matter whether you like the tennis vendor or not. You have to plan ahead.
No lights. Absolutely. It's a promise, and you got to stick with that promise. Now again, lighting, meaning this is going to be for sports fields lighting. They're in the process of redoing the tennis lights, and those lights are going to be better actually. They don't flood as much as they do right now. They're going to be more direct. There's going to be some changes. They're working on the tennis courts, and they're going to improve those. Yeah, we did lose a vendor where we generated revenues, but it's not always just about revenues. More people are using the tennis facility than they've ever done before. The residents are getting more use out of our tennis facility. And we've got to look at that. That's important. Yes, it's nice to have our parks, but if we're leasing them out and we can't use them, well, what benefit is that to us? So the tennis courts have been used by more residents than before, and that's a good thing. And I'm not going to use the word senior. I'll say mature adult programs. More of those. We're all getting a little older, but those are some great programs that we have over there also. And to have and I agree with some of the comments that were up here, to have a more input from the residents as to what they want to have happen within their parks, absolutely. In fact, that's a lot of what we're talking about up here. It's hard for us to do our job as a council person without getting that information, with getting the feedback. Because again, our job is to listen to the residents and do what they want us to do. And feedback is what it's all about, to include the parks.
All right, thank you. We're going to switch course here a little bit. I have a couple of questions. I've seen all the yard signs driving over here, and I've read some of the blogs. So we've got a couple of questions about campaign itself. So I'm asking, and we'll start with Ms. Cunningham, if you accept political action committee money to finance your campaign, what percentage of your financial contributions come from Palmetto Bay residents versus non-residents, and if that's good or bad, or what the stance is, and what your position is on council members voting on issues involving vendors or donors to their campaigns. Those are two very different issues, vendors and donors, and other municipalities have different rules regarding that. But if you would just talk about campaign financing.
Thank you for that question. I know that there's a lot of propaganda that's been placed at people's doors and sent through email regarding campaign contributions. I know my name was involved in that piece. I brought the flyer here this evening. It quotes 95%. I have my, and I'm happy to share them. They're public. So I have the first two filings here. Anyone is more than welcome to take a look at them. I haven't sat down to do a percentage breakdown. I definitely have a wide range of contributions with regards to my my campaign contributions. I'm trying to remember all the questions. I know that I'm trying, and just to think back, because in reading, I was kind of.
I'll answer if that's good or bad. I mean,
I think it's fine. Yeah, I think it's fine.
There are some people who think that it's not.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's fine. I have contributions from within Palmetto Bay. I have contributions, many of those folks are sitting here. I have contributions from teachers in our community, that's countywide. I have contributions from a wide range of friends. I have a brother that lives in Chicago that did significant fundraising for me in Chicago. I know the question was, what will they want from Palmetto Bay? Nothing. He was doing that for me. My sister's contribution came from California. She moved here on July 19th. So I'm hoping the only thing she wants to do in Palmetto Bay is stay here because we love her. So yeah, good or bad, I think we've got rules set in place for vendor contributions. I think we've got rules set in place with regards to moving forward once elected vice mayor. So I think I'm okay, and I'm happy to share that information with anybody.
I guess the only thing I'm surprised about is that we haven't seen a charter amendment that prohibits campaign contributions from outside Palmetto Bay yet. But on a more serious note, I think voting on issues when you have major conflict of interest is obviously a bad thing, and something that we need to be very diligent of and use common sense. I think that's a common sense issue. In terms of what some of the allegations, I think, against some of the people here, I think 4 of the people here about where they got their campaign contributions, it's public record. People ask, did I get campaign contributions from the lawyers at Palmer Trinity School? The answer is yes, I did. One of them gave me $250. I think 2 or 3 others gave me $50 to $100, somewhere in that range. Now, if you take a look at my campaign reports, by the time you receive the last one, you will realize that that represents less than 1% of my campaign funding. Okay, so if you think that's material or going to have an effect on my campaign, on my decisions as a council member, that's a ridiculous concept. It also assumes that there's no integrity with the person making the decisions on the council, and that I resent, because I think if anybody up here has proven that they stand for integrity, my record and my life and my business has proven that I have. I spent another thing that I didn't raise earlier, talking about our backgrounds, is I've been on the boards of directors of Camilla's House, Camilla's Health Concerns. I give a majority of my disposable income to charity. So I'm not doing this for personal wealth or gain here. Thank you.
I don't accept contributions from PACs, and that's my policy. As a matter of fact, when the Miami Board of Realtors endorsed me over my 2 opponents, I said I'm not going to accept any PAC money. This is the first time in Palmetto Bay's history that PAC money from unknown sources has been flowing in. Take a look at the contribution pages. In particular, you may not see on John's contribution page an outfit called Floridians for Ethical and Responsible Government, who've put out at least 2 color flyers, at least $5,000 worth of advertising for him. Have no idea who these people are. They're not registered. I'm the sponsor of the ordinance that prohibits vendors from contributing to council people and for candidates. That is clean government. That is good government. Take a look at the contribution pages. I think it's kind of outrageous when you accept contributions, not from one, but bundles of 10 attorneys from the same firm who represent Palmer Trinity, who's suing the village. Both Jim Araiza and John DuBois did that, as well as taking contributions from charter school proponents who are also suing the village. Take a look at their contribution pages. I don't think that's good government, and I don't think that's good policy.
Okay, let's get real about this. I have to tell you, I want to start chuckling because if you remember, I opened up and talked about being a divisive situation here in our city. I find it very amusing, and I know some of the people are in this room that are spouting the things about who we take our money from, which is not a secret, it's all public. How amusing it is that there are people in here that are the strongest supporters of our mayor, Mayor Stanzik. And yet she took money from the exact same person that they're saying we should have taken money from. Why is that okay? The reason is, it is okay. There's nothing wrong with what she did. There's nothing wrong with what I did. I'm not about to apologize because, quite frankly, folks, I'm here to serve you. And I can't do that without money. Anyone that doesn't understand it takes money to run a campaign doesn't know what's going on. I'll take money from anybody. In fact, anyone has a checkbook tonight, I'll take a check from you. I even have a little credit card swiper in my pocket. It's ridiculous to take it any further than that. And again, as I said, why is it okay that one candidate took it and not a single person made a complaint about it and suddenly it now becomes an issue? Quite frankly, in my own case, I'm very proud of the people that I've taken money from. If you look very carefully, instead of focusing on one person, like from a Palmer situation, you'll also see housewives and single-family people and husbands and everyone else that's putting in what they could put in on the opposite side. And in my case, the reason that happened is because people know that I will be willing to listen to both sides and look for consensus. Thank you.
Any questions? Because
there were several. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'll get right to the point.
Well, one was asking about political action committees, one's asking about contributions from residents within and without Palmetto Bay, and then also accepting money or voting on issues involving donors or vendors.
Okay, first of all, no, I've not received any money from PACs. That's easy enough. I've worked hard to try to do most of my fundraising within the village of Palmetto Bay. I'm not drawing conclusions one way or another. I'm not out saying that people are doing something legal or illegal. But I've received, including my own contributions, 94.25% of my funding has been from residents of Palmetto Bay. And if you cut out what I've put into it, 84.24%. And again, that's my choice. I'm going out there because I do not want to have to listen to anyone outside of the village of Palmetto Bay. I want residents only. And that's what I'm focusing on. And my feeling is that if there's money from outside, they can always get in my ear, and I don't want that. The only people I want in my ear are the residents. So that's why I have taken that position to go towards picking up that type of funding. And the last question was taking money from vendors. Again, I know there's ordinances that came through that limits our ability to take money from vendors. I think that it's probably not in the best interest to take money from vendors, either current vendors or people that are trying to become vendors, for a lot of the same reasons. Are they going to ask me in the future for a favor? If I can avoid that, absolutely. That's what I want to be able to do. So going forward, I'm going to continue to do that. Yes, it takes money. Jim's right about that. But if people from this village want to write checks, I'm all for it. But I'm going to keep it within the village. Thanks.
I guess a lot of y'all got this little email. It says it's Palmetto Bay for sale. And it was written by someone that I really respect, Dr. Jack Fell. And I approached him last night, and where he said that 53% of my funds came from outside the village. Well, it's probably true. My brother does not live in Palmetto Bay. My mother does not live in Palmetto Bay. My mom has 3 corporations that are not part of Palmetto Bay. A friend of mine who lives in Palmetto Bay has a business outside of Palmetto Bay. That check came from him. One of my aunts lives in Pinecrest. She gave me a check. And an attorney who lives in Palmetto Bay gave me a check from his out of Palmetto Bay address, whoever his business. So I think, and I approached Mr. Fell last night, and he apologized because I respect him very much. And I said, I'm ashamed of you that you would take information and not check it. And he said, you know, you're probably right, and I really should not have done this without checking into it. As for PACs, unfortunately, I haven't gotten any PAC funds. So, and like everyone says, it is expensive to run a campaign. I'm not up there in the dollars this year and running my campaign, but I'm getting out there, and people are knowing who I am. And I'm proud that my mom, who's 97, supports me in running for re-election.
I would say, if your mother doesn't support you, who's going to? There are other charter amendments that I understand, in addition to county charter amendments, Palmetto